Jefferson Robbins with NCW Life. There are a number of local elections going on around the Wenatchee Valley. As we've been discussing, we sit down with local candidates for all the contested races that we can find. One of them is the race for East Wenatchee City Council, Position 3. Candidate Nikki Darling joins me right now. Hi, Nikki.
Hi.
Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Can you introduce yourself as if you were meeting a voter for the first time? If you were looking for my vote and I don't know you, tell me who you are.
Well, I'm Nikki Darling. I'm running for East Wenatchee City Council. I understand that you might not understand who I am because for a while now I've been behind the scenes, but you might understand that I was behind the mic for a while. I was the host and co-host of the Breakfast Burrito on KW3 here in the Valley. It was the #1 morning show with Connor and Nikki. And so you might recognize my voice. It woke you up for 5 years and made you laugh and answered your phone calls and connected with you in the community in that way. But since then, I've had a kid and started my own business and connected through the community through podcasting and media training and helped our Wenatchee mayor get elected as his campaign manager. And really has been a very big advocate for small businesses and nonprofits in our community.
What did you learn about the Wenatchee Valley community running Mayor Poirier's campaign, which was a successful campaign, we should say?
Thank you. I learned that a lot of people are not paying attention to what is happening locally in our local government, and some people are, and finding it really difficult to connect and communicate with our elected officials. That was the #1 thing, that the people who are passionate are finding it hard to communicate, and the rest of the people are just going about their day and they are not paying attention.
Now, you've run a whole mayoral campaign, as we said, but you haven't served in elected office yourself previously. So why do you want to join the East Wenatchee City Council?
To be honest, I did not think this was in my future. I really didn't. I think elected office finds you. You know, civil service, public service, it's something that finds you. It's not something that you look for. People start to suggest it to you. It was definitely that way for me. I came upon this as I was going through I had the opportunity and got accepted into the Parent Training Leadership Institute, and that was a small cohort. Last year was the first one in North Central Washington, and I became really close with that group, and through that they encouraged you to go to city council meetings. So I started going to the East Wenatchee City Council meetings, and while I was there I started to pay attention to what was happening in my city, and because that's where I live. And I looked around to see if anybody else was paying attention, and even the people in the room seemed to not be as shocked and affected by what was being voted on, what was being discussed. And I was just looking around going, is anybody else paying attention? Is anybody else being affected by this as much as I am? And it didn't seem that way. So it seemed like this was my calling when the positions were just starting to, when the current city council members were stepping down and the positions were opening, I went, this is my calling.
Tell me what issues arose in your observations of East Wenatchee City Council or East Wenatchee government. When you say you were kind of alarmed or energized by that, what was an example?
Yeah, that's a fair question. The biggest one was probably the budget. You know, going into the next year's budget, trying to figure out a huge deficit and how they were going to deal with that. along with economic development and stimulation. And growth. The city is growing and trying to grow, but at the same time, small businesses are struggling and the budget is going into a deficit. That was the biggest one for me. And I just couldn't see how they were having a resolution to that, or trying to figure out a resolution to that. And so I was just, and there's so many boards that are approving funding, like the eWeb board, which is the East Wenatchee Events Board. It's approving funding for the L&I funds that are coming in, that people don't know what they're being approved for. And I think that we just need accountability for where those funds are going.
There was an issue that came before the City Council in May. They placed a 5% gaming tax on pull tabs that are sold at local businesses. And then in September, they pulled it back. They repealed it because they said, we got more information or got more input from the business owners who might be affected by that. It was expected to raise about $170,000 a year. Does that say anything to you about the way the city of East Wenatchee is operating right now, to put something out there, approve it, and then rescind it within a few months?
Well, it does say to me that they are trying, that they're trying to find ways to generate revenue for the city. However, I think they need to find ways to have more input from the community. In my opinion, and this is just my opinion, they need more public input. They have a really educated and smart public information officer who also acts as an events coordinator. In my opinion, they're overworked. They have great events, but I think they focus too much. The city focuses too much on events, right? They can generate a lot of revenue from tourism if they invested on small businesses that are bringing in events. And those L&I funds can help those small businesses generate some more income into the city. Then maybe their PI officer can actually focus on PI, right? And not bringing in events, right? Let's have people focus on what they're really strong at. I think it's great for the city to be focusing on how we can generate revenue, because we are in a deficit, right? And maybe there's just a few tweaks and changes that we really can look at. But it's important to have a connection to what the small businesses think about these things. Have public discussion at meetings. I think it was just this past week, if you just noticed, the gay community came out to the workshop. I say our workshop. It's not. I'm not on the council yet.
The city council workshop.
The city council workshop, right? That is a perfect example of the foreshadowing of why we need public discussion at city council meetings.
So if you're elected to East Wenatchee City Council Position 3, you've expressed interest in being on the eWeb board. Can you sort of outline what that board does for East Wenatchee and how you might like it to see, how you might like to see it operating differently?
Yes. So the eWeb board looks over the different events and grant applications for the motel hotel tax grants. So different events that come through the city will apply for those funds, and it all has to go through the East Wenatchee Events Board. And those funds can be for different amounts. And they're reimbursement funds, and they help the event operate, do marketing and whatever operational funds that they rent. And they get those funds for bringing in tourism, for partnering with hotels and motels and bringing in from people from out of town. But they have to justify that they've brought those people in from out of town. Now, Wenatchee also has this board. Their process is a little more difficult to access these funds. I believe that if I am allotted to this board by the mayor, that we could look over this process and maybe have a more, not a more difficult process, but just see if it could be a better process that would be better suited for the people it's trying to serve.
Well, one of the ways that cities seek to grow is through annexation. And on the Wenatchee side of the river, you've seen some leaps and bounds in annexation in the last dozen years. The city has really expanded its footprint. East Wenatchee in 2022 sought to annex about 600 homes in the southwest areas, and it was going to work through a Douglas County interlocal agreement with the county commissioners. But the commissioners decided almost at the last minute to step back from that, and they wouldn't be involved in letting that annexation go forward, and it hasn't gone forward since then. Do you think the city should continue to pursue growth through annexation? Does it need to grow by those means?
I understand the mayor's need to want to grow. I mean, it's smart. If you look at the numbers of our population growth over the next 10 years, we have the numbers, I don't want to speak out of turn because I don't have them in front of me, but we are exponentially growing over the next 10 years. And this city is supposed to remain the city. And I think that's something that people need to remember is East Wenatchee proper, we like it to be East Wenatchee proper. And the outskirts, where it's a little bit more land and rural, people like that too. And if we want to keep it that way, and with the population growth expected over the next 10 years, we are going to need more land within the city proper. So annexation of land into the center city is going to be needed.
Can you think of priorities, Nikki, that the city is not addressing right now that in your view should be addressed, things you want to see them tackle that aren't on the agenda right now?
Well, I think I've already said a couple of things, but I think public information is a big one. They're starting to see, they meaning the East Wenatchee City Council, are starting to see a shift, a paradigm shift into a time where there is more advocacy and activism from our community. And it's been happening. And I had the chance to stand up in front of the East Wenatchee City Council, and they asked me, how would you get the community to engage more? And I said, they are engaging. They're just not engaging with you. So there's a disconnect. People are out there. They're more educated on the issues than ever. They are looking for opportunities to know what's happening. So nationally, they are getting educated. So why not give them the opportunity to get educated on what's happening locally, because that's where change starts. I don't believe we're giving them enough of an opportunity to get engaged and educated on what's happening locally. And honestly, that is why I'm running, because I've always been a connector of people to the message. And I think that's my strength. I haven't always wanted that job, but I'm good at it. I can understand the message and I can relay it to the people. And I believe in that.
Can you think of anything, Nikki, that I didn't ask that you think people should know about yourself or about your candidacy?
Well, I'm not from here originally, but this is home now. I've lived here for 10 years, and I really love it. You know, I've fallen in love with here, and I think anybody that has gotten to know me knows that I am fiercely loyal to my community, and that is what I live for, you know, because this is where I'm raising my son, and everything is for him. And I want a future community that I feel like I can be proud of for him to grow up in. And right now, I'm not sure, you know, I see glimpses, but I see dissension. And, you know, just at the city council workshop last week, you know, I see potential for common ground, but by the time he's an adult, I want to see more peace and serenity and more common ground. So that's what I'm working towards in our community for him.
Well, Nikki Darling, candidate for East Wenatchee City Council, Position 3. Thanks a lot for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
You're watching the NCW Life channel.